So today I've decided that I'm going to be starting my first ever reverse harem book, and I wanted to vlog it for you guys because I have no idea how this is going to go. I'm not sure if I'm going to really enjoy the trope for what it is or if I'm not going to like it, because I tend to be like very territorial and I really like the happily ever afterwards, like one girl with one guy, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to react to the idea of reverse harem. So that's why I'm going to vlog it, just so that we could go through this experience together. So at the moment, all I really know about reverse harem, and my information can totally be wrong, but what I understand reverse harem is one girl having a relationship with multiple guys. And I think what makes a reverse harem is when there is at least 3 guys. And I think a thing about these type of books is that at the end of it, she's not necessarily going to end up with one of the guys. She's going to end up with like multiple of them. And I'm pretty sure like they're all doing it together. Like it's not just like 3 guys or more than 3 guys like with one girl. I think they're all getting it on. So that is my understanding of reverse harem at the moment. But we are going to be reading Lilac by B.B. Reed, and we're going to see if I'm right or wrong. So what I know about this book is that there is one girl that is somehow going to get involved with a band, like a group of guys that are all part of one band, and she's going to be having a relationship with all of them. I don't know if like she's part of the band or if like she's just going to like meet them somehow and then they're going to like form this relationship of sorts, but that is why we're going to read this book, to figure it out. So I'm going to be going outside today because it is somewhat nice, and I don't know if you know this yet, but I did recently break my foot, so I've been having a very hard time getting around and like doing things and everything, especially because I have a dog who has to go out and pee multiple times a day. So I'm going to set myself up outside for the day so that he is like good to go and I don't really have to worry about him. So I'm going to bring you guys along with me. I'm going to start this book and I'll try to update you a couple times throughout it just to see like how it's going, but I have like medium hopes for this. Like either I'm going to really enjoy it for what it is, or I'm just like not going to vibe with it, and that is totally okay. But we are going to test it out and see if reverse harem is my thing. So that is it for now. I'll come back soon when I have something else to share.
Many hours later.
So it's currently around 4 o'clock right now, and I figured I'm going to be heading inside pretty soon, so I wanted to give you guys an update of how it is going so far before I get any further into the book. So I'm currently at page 116, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So you're following this girl named Braxton, who is, I think, 22 years old, and she just became the new guitarist for this very famous band. They used to be 4 people, and then one of them passed away, I think from like a drug overdose or something, but it was a little bit sketchy. So anyway, she's going to be their new guitarist, and throughout the first 100 pages or so, we basically got to follow like over the course of 3 months as she is like preparing and going to like band practice with them to get ready for their year-long tour. So at the spot that I'm at right now, they actually just started their tour. So they just had their first concert and it went really well, and now she just got a tour of the tour bus that they're all going to be staying on together. So that's kind of the moment where I paused because I wanted to update you before I got any further into the story. So I feel like the story in itself is being built up pretty solidly, and I also think that we're getting to know the characters pretty well. Like I was a little bit worried that because we were following like 3 guys and 1 girl, like all of the guys might have come across feeling the same and I wasn't going to be able to like differentiate them all pretty like differently, sort of thing. But I feel like I am getting to know them all for who they are. So we've got Houston, who is the head of the band. Like he's kind of like the main arrogant asshole guy, and he kind of like controls everybody else, and he's the one who's like everyone has to listen to him, sort of thing. And I mean, he is what he is. And then we have Lauren, who is kind of like the middleman. He's also an arrogant asshole, and he's always like a little bit mean of sorts as well, but like he's the one that's like hitting on her the most and kind of like putting himself out there the most, and he's got a vibe to him. I don't really know. And then we also have Jericho, who is kind of like the guy on the bottom, who he's kind of like the puppy dog. He's kind of like the sweetest one and the one who just like he doesn't want to be mean or anything like that. And I feel like we're getting the vibe that he's got a bit of a past, like emotional past of sorts, and I feel like all of them, there's something else going on that like I don't really know yet. Like I'm getting the vibe off of all of them that like there is more to the story than like they're all letting on at the moment, but I feel like that's what the next 400 pages are going to be about. So we'll see how it goes from here, but at the moment I'm enjoying it. At the moment, like they've all got their own personality going on, which I'm very happy to see because I really wasn't sure how all that was gonna play out, but either way it's good. And at the moment, what I am kind of liking is that I don't really know how the reverse harem situation is actually going to play out, because at the moment they all seem to be very, very into her. Like they all want to get with her, but they all also seem pretty territorial. Like one of them already called dibs and the other one was like, no one can get with her. And it's like, well, I want her and I don't want anybody else touching her or anything like that. Like they're all being pretty jealous over each other. So I'm pretty curious as to how this reverse harem situation is going to play itself out. And I have a feeling it's going to be her that's going to initiate it, because we're kind of getting the vibe off of her that she comes from a very like religious background, but like she's done some stuff in her past that she's trying to like redeem herself for or something like that. I'm not really too sure, but I have a feeling that it's going to be her who kind of initiates this idea. Like she's not going to want to choose one of them. She's just going to be like, oh, I want all of you, like take it or leave it sort of thing. So I don't know if I'm right about that, because I've never really read a reverse harem to know like how these things generally play out. But at the moment, that is kind of my guess on how it's going to go. But either way, at the 100-page mark or so, I'm really enjoying it. I can't really like see through the plot yet, which I'm really enjoying because it's kind of keeping me on my toes, but it's good so far. So I'm going to read the rest of the night and I will try to update you again, obviously before I finish it, because I still have 400 pages left, and hopefully it will just keep staying good. So yeah, good for now, but I'll come back soon and update you later.
The next day.
So it's currently like 7 a.m. right now, and I am still sitting in bed because I am just having a really hard time moving around with my freaking foot. I got up and I got dressed and I did everything I needed to do, and then I just knew that I had to go all the way downstairs to like feed my dog and get myself set up and everything, and I'm like, I really am not down for this like hour mission. So I thought that I'd take a minute break and just update you on how my book went last night before I start doing all of that and then get really tired again. So last night I got to page 199. So like basically like 200 out of the 500 pages. So I'm a little bit less than halfway through, and we finally got to the part where she starts to sleep with everybody. So I'm going to start doing some like spoiler warnings here in case you don't really want to hear anything. But basically we found out that she is a sex addict, which I feel like I should have seen coming, because like, you know, she kept like hinting towards the fact that she has like this insatiable need of sorts that like nobody can really fill. But for some reason I thought that she was just like into gangbanging or something like that. Like she just had like this weird kink, but it's not that. She's just a sex addict. So either way, they all found this out, and yeah, now they all started sleeping with her. So like first she started with Houston because like he kind of wanted to like sleep with her because he's like the head of the band, just so that like he can claim her for himself. And then like everyone found out that like she slept with him. They all got mad, and then she ended up, you know, kind of sleeping with like another one of them. So I'm sure that the third one's going to come around pretty soon. But either way, we're at 2 of the 3 guys already, and honestly I expected it to go a little bit different, because they are all being like really territorial like towards her. Like they all want her to themselves. Like they keep saying how like, oh, they've never had to fight over like a single girl. Like they've never all been after one girl, and they all want her like for themselves. They're all super jealous over like each of them and everything. And I just, for some reason, I thought that like they were all just gonna like be very comfortable sharing her. Like I thought that that might be like what a reverse harem is, but maybe it's gonna get that way. Maybe they're just gonna all come to an understanding. But at the moment, they're all being like really possessive, really jealous, and still all basically sleeping with her. So it's interesting so far. The thing is that we have moved towards the part of the story where it's going to just basically all be sex instead of like, you know, keep on going with the plot. Like I feel like in the first part of the book, like they started building up the plot, getting us like situated with like what's going on, and they also started to like, you know, give everybody like some personality. And now the personalities are actually like coming into play, and we've kind of like forgotten about the plot. Like they're still on tour, like they're doing whatever, but like I feel like now we're just dealing with like everybody's dynamics. Like how is everybody reacting to everybody else? And it's somewhat interesting, but I have a weird feeling that once like all of this sex starts coming in and it's just going to be like chapter after chapter of like her sleeping with different people, I have a feeling I might start to get bored, because like we already had like 2 very whatever sex scenes, because like, you know, she slept with 2 people already. And I just feel like, you know, if it starts to get a lot of that, I might just start to like dwindle my interest a little bit, just because it's going to turn to be too much. But we'll see, because like the sex scenes are solid, but like I'm just worried that like the next 300 pages is going to be just that, with probably like building more of the development of how this whole situation is going to work. But either way, that is all I really have to share for now. I kind of like the whole like over crazy like vibes going on. Like all of them are extra assholey, extra possessive, extra like giving off vibes, and I think that's kind of what's getting me through the story. Like it's not a perfect story. Like all you're doing is like following these three guys who are really into this one girl. Like how deep can it get, But it is entertaining enough at the moment. So I am planning to like read most of the day. I am about to go film a video, like another video other than this one. So I have to go do that. And then I might go visit my grandmother today because she is near my house. Like my aunt has a house upstate and she's like right by me. So I might go and say hi to her if I have the chance. But either way, I have a couple of stuff to do today, but I will hopefully get a little bit deeper into this book. So I'll update you later when I have something else to share. Also, Cooper makes it absolutely impossible to get out of bed every morning. Look how freaking cute he is, just like cuddling me and sitting with me. I mean, why would I ever want to get up?
The next day.
So I ended up finishing the rest of the book without updating you guys again. So we're just going to go through how I felt about the rest of it. So I think the last time I had updated you, I was a little bit less than halfway through the story. And I think 2 out of the 3 of them had already gotten with her, but they were still all feeling like very jealous and possessive at the moment. Like they all just wanted her for themselves. But slowly after that, they had basically realized that like they're either all going to have to share her or none of them are going to be able to have her. And that is kind of how they got themselves into this situation. Like they were the ones to decide to like basically all just be with her, and then they propositioned her with this idea. They had to convince her on it, and then once she basically said yes, that's when like the rest of the story kind of went into play, and like we ended up like just figuring out the dynamics of how a relationship like this was going to work. So the rest of the story definitely ended up being just a massive sex fest, like left and right. It was all different like scenarios. Like that was one thing why I wanted to read a reverse harem. Like I wanted to figure out what were the rules of this sort of relationship. Like how did the dynamics work? Did they all have to be together at once, or like were they all allowed to like just be with each other when they wanted to be? Like what were the dynamics between the guys, everything along those lines. And I feel like the rest of the story did really give me a good idea of the possibilities of a reverse harem. Like obviously all of them are going to be different, but I feel like we got a lot of good dynamics and different dynamics going on throughout the rest of the book. So that is actually what kept me entertained. I was a little bit worried that it was going to be a little bit too much sex and would feel repetitive and I would just get bored after a little bit, but because it was always changing and there was always somebody else in the mix and something else happening, I actually was solidly entertained throughout the rest of the story. So I feel like I ended up enjoying Reverse Harem for what it was. Like I liked it in the moment that I was reading it, and like I was more okay with it than I expected to be as I was like in the story. But I feel like it's not something that I necessarily want to like read a ton of in the future. Maybe that will change in the future, who knows? But I feel like it's not something that I would necessarily like say no to, but I also don't think that like I would just go and read any Reverse Harem. Like I feel like I'm going to be pretty picky with the ones that I choose to pick up next, because even though I was okay with the idea of the reverse harem, I feel like the majority of my problems were how this story specifically ended up playing out. And that's why I feel like if I pick up another reverse harem in the future, I feel like I'm going to have to be very particular with what the plot actually is and make sure I'm going to be okay with how the rest of the story plays out, besides for the whole reverse harem dynamic sort of situation, because happens to be in this story. I think that a lot of the things that ended up bothering me was everything that had to do with not the reverse harem. Like I had mentioned earlier in this vlog how like I feel like they were all hiding a little bit of stuff, and like everybody had more going on and like more to their story than we were really getting in the beginning. And I feel like slowly throughout the rest of the book, that is what actually ended up coming into play, and that is what the whole like rest of the plot ended up being. And like all of the conflicts and everything like that, like there was something going on with Jericho that like he was hiding something, and like it slowly had to come out and everybody had to like either like hide it from her or like finally tell her and everything like that. And I didn't really like not only how all of that played out, like I didn't like the idea that they all knew something that she didn't, but I also didn't like the actual conflict of the story. Like I didn't like the actual thing that they were hiding. Like just my personal preference of like reading a book, I didn't actually like that, and I wish that the conflict was actually something else. And then also, besides for the whole fact that like they were on tour, the only other stuff about the plot was was just the idea of like her coming from a very religious background and her family and her small town basically making her think that she was a sex addict, and like there was stuff going on with her sister. And I feel like just everything about all of that, I don't think I was necessarily like here for. Like I didn't particularly love those ideas of the story. So I feel like plot wise, once the whole idea of like her joining their band and her like going on tour with them kind of like went to the side, like I feel like everything else I didn't really enjoy. So that is kind of why I'm very like mad about the book. Like I'm happy that I read it for the reverse harem, and I kind of liked seeing how all of those dynamics played out and everything like that, but I don't think it was perfect. There were some stuff that like I wouldn't have minded were a little bit different, especially plot wise, but happens to be there was also this thing of like every time there would be a conflict between them and like they would get into a fight or something like that, she would just like, you know, go to the side and like not talk to them for a day or two and like kind of go on her own, and then they would basically have to figure out like how to get through to her again, how to talk to her again, how to get like her to forgive them and everything like that. And I liked their end of it. Like I liked the groveling aspect of them, but I didn't really like how she reacted to, you know, some stuff that came up in their relationship and everything like that. So I feel like I did have a solid amount of problems with this book, but I honestly was reading it to just like see what a reverse harem is. So I feel like overall I'm pretty happy with my experience, because I feel like overall I'm coming out on top of the idea of like I would read another reverse harem, but because I had so many issues with the rest of the story, I feel like I want to be picky with what I pick up next so that I can hopefully enjoy even more than I did this one. So yeah, with that said, I feel like overall this was pretty positive. Like even though I didn't love everything about the book, I'm happy that I read it, and I feel like, you know, I crossed off another like niche off my notch, and I would be interested in delving deeper into the reverse harem niche, even though I don't think that it's going to be like my new thing or anything like that, you know what I mean? But either way, yeah, that is about it. So leave me a comment down below if you have any questions, or if like you want to just like further the discussion, because I wanted to keep this video as spoiler free as possible. So if you wanted to talk about anything in detail, feel free to leave me a comment or a question down below, and I'd be happy to continue the discussion there. But either way, if you enjoyed watching this video, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you're not currently subscribed, and either way, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, with that said, until next time, enjoy reading.